It's 2024. Gaming has gotten unexciting to say the least. Most titles released by AAA companies are overpriced, unoriginal, and just unfinished. If you look back 10 to 15 years ago, that wasn't the case, and that's where Skylanders comes in. As most of you probably know, Skylanders started thanks to Spyro, an infamous character dating back to the very first PlayStation console, and after a few years of subpar releases, the final one releasing in 2005, he fell into obscurity. That was until the 2010s. Toys for Bob, a development company for Activision, was given the chance to revive a character from Activision's artillery, of course being Spyro. Originally they wanted to go for a darker theme with a game called Spyro's Kingdom. Even from its conception, the Toys to Life aspect of Skylanders had been there, just not quite on the scale that it ended up on. The team at Toys for Bob realized they could do a lot more with the idea, and convinced Activision to give them more time and money for it. With that, in 2011, a legendary game was born, Skylanders Spyro's Adventure. Now, as for what made Skylanders unique, was the aspect of Toys for Life. This was made possible thanks to near-field communication, also known as NFC technology. The base game was released for $70, which included the game, the portal, and 3 figures, Spyro, Gilgrunt, and Trigger Happy. Now, considering that this game came out for the same price as the majority of modern game releases, which have significantly less content and innovation packed into them, it should give you an idea of just how different the landscape was back then. However, the base game was one of many elements of Skylanders. There were another 29 Skylanders to collect aside from the ones included in the game. Each figure costs $7 to $10, while triple packs, which had 3 Skylanders, cost $25. You could find these figures in stores like Target, Walmart, and Toys R Us. Despite how much the cost of all these figures would stack up if you were to collect them back then, people loved it. Skylanders Spyro's Adventure sold over 30 million games in toys by March of 2012. Due to the astounding success of the first title, sequels were spawned, which each game releasing annually. The first of the releases is Skylanders Giants. This title introduced the Giants, larger-scaled Skylanders with much higher power and capability in-game. Following this game would be Skylanders Swap Force, which used magnets to create what was called swap abilities, which were the different matchups of bottoms and tops that you could make with these swapper Skylanders. Swap Force was developed by a different studio than Toys for Bob, being Vicarious Visions. This was done to allow for the yearly cycle of releases. After this game, Toys for Bob developed Skylanders Trap Team, which introduced traps, key-like shrines that could be inserted into a slot on the portal and be used to capture the villains in the game and allow you to play as them. Skylanders had been thriving. Trap Team was the peak of the franchise in terms of popularity, and the series had stayed consistent with sales to that point. That was until the release of Skylanders Superchargers in 2015. This game introduced vehicles along with a racing mode in the game. Despite this being the 5th game in the series, it had less physical content than prior games, having about the same amount of figures as the first game, including vehicles. While you may see this as a good thing for consumers, reducing the amount needed to spend on the game, this title sold far less than the ones before it, and it also received worse reviews than previous games. This all spelled doom for the series, but as one last Hail Mary, Skylanders Imaginators was released in 2016. This game featured creating your very own Skylanders with creation crystals. The game had a thorough and intuitive creation system for the player to make and play as these characters, but this could not revive the sales. Despite a powerful marketing campaign, the game continued to see decreased sales, leading to Activision ceasing development of Skylanders in 2017. Skylanders still had a few small things going for it after the end of the mainline releases. The show, Skylanders Academy, on Netflix, received 3 seasons, the final one released in 2018. And there was a mobile game, Skylanders Ring of Heroes, which was still alive until recently, in February of 2022, when the online servers shut down, making the game unplayable. Although Skylanders is now a dormant franchise, we still see occasional references to it in modern releases, such as in Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time, when an eruptor floaty can be seen in the background of one of the levels. And with the death of Skylanders came a new Spyro release, Spyro Reignited Trilogy. Now, to answer the question of how Skylanders stays relevant today and why it continues to have its fanbase grow, there are a few good reasons for that. As you may have guessed, nostalgia plays a huge part in its return to popularity. The people who grew up playing the first releases of the games reminisce on them, remembering the figures they had and digging them up out of the bins they've been collecting dust in for a good decade. The nostalgia factor of Skylanders has allowed it to stay relevant on social media, and it's clear that people miss what video games were during that generation. Another factor in its continued relevancy is the games themselves. Skylanders as a video game is timeless, a tried and true formula that will stay fun no matter how old you are, which means that the people who grew up playing these games as adults can still enjoy them today. Not only that, but soon enough, the people who grew up with these games will be having kids. That means that they will be able to hand down these figures and show their children what things were like back in their day, which leads me to my next and final reason, the potential for a new installment. Many of today's followers of Skylanders hold out hope for a new game, and that alone keeps the fan base going. If there were to be a new Skylanders game, it would immediately skyrocket the value of any legacy Skylanders, which encourages the market to continue. A new game would also mean new fans, which would mean Generation Alpha and beyond could also experience what it's like to walk into a Target and see the newest wave of figures, and that's something that everyone would love to see. Overall, Skylanders never truly died. It lives on through the fans of it who never left and the legacy it has left behind. It is entirely possible for a new game to come about, and whether that's in 5 years or 20, the series will not be forgotten. Thank you for watching.